Welcome to Mallett and Michelle on Dripping Springs, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallett. Hey, Steve, I ran across something the other day, and I just thought it was really funny, and I wanted to kind of just...
Tell me about it,
It's not
Michelle.
a traditional Steveism, but it's kind of like a Michelle and Steveism.
We'll go with it.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that this is our reminder that we would not make it in prison. Okay,
I don't need a reminder, Michelle. I wouldn't make it in prison.
You know, we're not likable enough to make it in any type of gang.
That's true.
We have zero transferable skills. Our best bet would be to barter with people, but we both know we don't have the attention spans to spend the next 30 to life to be the commissionary king or queen. So we just need to learn to be nice to people.
You know what, Michelle? If we were in prison, we don't suffer idiots very well.
I'm allergic to
just
stupid.
Cut you. They'd cut you with the end of their toothbrush.
I'd be shanked at the end of the first day.
I don't think you'd even get off the bus. They'd be on you on the bus.
I actually think I'd do pretty good. I think the colors would. Okay. First off, I wouldn't want to go to the bathroom in public. That would be number one. Okay. I would be kind of like Goldie Hawn in Private Benjamin, and I'd be like, "Is green the only color that's
I actually, in truth, I think by the end of the first day, you'd have your own gang, and the prison guards would be going, "Hey, Michelle, is it okay if I let this person over here come out on the yard?"
Welcome to Mallett and Michelle in penitentiary.
Yeah. And Michelle Lewis, who is way, way, way above average.
Oh, I'm a little afraid
way above.
of.
And the reason is the average person curses 21 times a day. You're way above that.
Do I really cuss more than 21 times a day?
I think you put me to shame sometimes.
Oh, really? Mallett?
I think you do. Well, that brings up the first thing.
Here's BS. I'm going to raise the BS flag.
Over half of Americans use swear word substitutes, including fudge, shoot, and frick.
Well, you know that they say that using swear words is a higher sign of intelligence.
I've read that, yeah. So according to that, then...
I'm just smarter than you.
You are. The most intelligent place to live in the country then is Columbus, Ohio, because they swear 36 times a day on average.
No, see, I try not to make it part of my everyday vocabulary.
You
but
do
it's
it
just
in spurts. It's like you won't curse for 5 or 6 hours, and then within about 30 seconds, you'll have 15 of them come out.
Again, I don't know. You know what? Look, I was raised by a Marine CIA agent, so
I'm sure they have some curse words.
Sorry,
they can use, yeah.
It was just part of it.
Austin, Texas was number 7 on the U.S. cities that swear the most.
Well, I also
tied for Los Angeles, believe it or not.
I also make up words. So
yes, you do.
my made up words along with my swear words just kind of, I don't know.
You know what? And nobody knows because you say them with such conviction. Like when I use a word and I'm like, I'm not sure that's the right word. Is that the right? You can see it in my face, but not you. You just throw it out there.
You just got to keep going.
Yeah,
you just keep going.
Yeah. Average swears per day, 21, is 21, but in Phoenix, Arizona, the least swearing city, they only swear 14 times a day, which I think, and the swears are usually, it's so freaking hot here.
That's probably, but it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat. And the age that the average person starts using actual swear words is, what do you think?
Gosh, if my parents heard me say any swear words, I didn't say anything until I was maybe 18, 19.
Well, then you're way above average on that because the average is 11. Age
really?
11. Yeah, they start.
No, that's adult. That's adult time. You can't.
I agree. Yeah. And then who people swear at the most? Themselves, obviously. Like, God, I can't believe I freaking did that. Friends, partners, coworkers, siblings, and parents at 1%.
You know what my favorite word is? And it's not like, I look at it as a term of endearment. If I call you this, it's just because I say it because it's funny. It's not a swear word, but
I think it might be.
No, I just say idiot, and
that's not a swear word. It is a term of I've always wondered how you get away with that.
I say it all the time, like, idiot. Annie and I say it to each other.
You
all
do,
the time.
yeah, and everybody just laughs.
See?
If I did that, everybody'd stop and turn around and look at me like, "What did he?"
Well, see, because you got to go idiot. Now, if you said idiot, then that's not.
Yeah, I was cracking up at some of the favorite swear word substitutions: fudge, fudgesicle, shoot, frick or frickin',
Dadgummit.
poop.
Poop.
This one, fork. Oh, I get it. Yeah. Oh, fork you.
Yeah.
Mother trucker, sugar. I don't get that one. And holy smokes.
Okay. Well, in Texas, one of my favorite cut downs is bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
Oh, bless you.
You're such an idiot.
Or I just say bless sometimes now, just like as a
southern cut down. Yeah.
Bless.
Yeah. Hey, the moratorium's over.
So what does that mean?
It really doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
I was reading about it. The members of the Dripping Springs City Council voted unanimously Tuesday night, which was a week ago, to end the moratorium on development in the city.
Why? Because our economy is going into the crapper?
I guess. But basically, Mayor Folds said that nothing's really changed, because if you walk into City Hall and say you're doing a new development and you need wastewater, that they're going to tell you, no, we don't have any extra wastewater.
So they have to build their own wastewater plants, right? Is that what?
You could do that. You have to put, if it's a development where you could do your own wastewater treatment plant, you'd have to go that way. But man, there's a bunch of hurdles.
Or just build a golf course and you can put it on the golf course.
Yeah, right. But the city actually has received the money for expanding the South Regional Wastewater Plant Treatment Plan, which is our wastewater treatment plant off of 150. But the expansion's tied up in litigation. So I don't know where this is going to go. The moratorium's officially gone, but I don't really think anything's changed other than they're just not calling it a moratorium anymore.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just like, they need to figure out this traffic situation, because I'm sorry, it is stupid.
It is stupid.
I'm landlocked to try to get into work, which used to take me 12 minutes to get to work. Now, granted, it's not like the good old days, but I'm not one of those. Like progress is happening, developments, but they should not have approved all of this without having all of us landlocked at 12 and 2.
I'm actually glad you said that, because this KXAN article that I read, they interviewed this guy. I'm not going to say his name, but they interviewed this guy who's been a resident of Dripping Springs for 25 years. And this was a quote: "There's just too many people here and they need to toddle it back, not add in more." I'm not sure what toddle it. I think maybe he meant throttle it. And this guy's seen the growth firsthand because he's been here, which is a little bit of NIMBYism, not in my backyard.
I'm using toddle it now for the...
Toddle it, yeah. You need to toddle that back, idiot. But this guy says, and I don't understand the context here, but anger and stuff that they're allowing so many people to come in here. And I think that kind of shows some ignorance of what the role the city of Dripping Springs has.
You can't stop people from moving, and it's asinine to think that you can. And I mean, we don't own, just because you're a resident of Dripping Springs, you don't own.
That's right.
The town of Dripping Springs. I don't care how long you've been here, 30, 40, that's whatever. Right. I've been here, almost 20 years.
Yep.
You've been here almost 20 years.
You can't move here and then close the gate behind you.
Everybody moved here from somewhere.
That's right.
Everybody came here from somewhere.
And the things that people are saying now about how crowded it is, they were saying 20 years ago when I moved here and there was one light in town and one restaurant. They were saying it's just getting so crowded. So it doesn't matter how big the city gets. But the point is, the city comes up with rules for development, and they have a process for approving, how much wastewater they have. And there is some guidelines that they have, but if somebody comes in and they have a development and it meets all the guidelines, they can't say, nah, we don't really want you here. You can't do that.
Well,
and I wouldn't want the city to do that.
No, I know. And I just think they just need to figure out traffic patterns and water and.
Well, yeah, the growth is going so quickly that, it is hard to keep up with the changes and be in front of it. But, the answer is not to say, let's close up City Hall and nobody can walk in here again with some kind of a development plan and ask for it to be approved. We still want development.
Let's create a selection plan. Oh, wait a minute. Huh? Or is that back to, no, let's not.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the parameters of that?
Right.
Do we agree with what the business is? Do we agree with the color of the houses? Do we agree with how many houses there are? It's like, how do you decide that stuff?
The way you vote. Speaking of the way you vote and being old, I took my daughter to the Harry Styles concert last night, and he performed, I think it was like 2 weeks here in Austin. sold out every single night.
I have no idea who Harry Styles is, by the way, but go ahead.
He was in One Direction, which I took Kendall to see. One Direction when she was 12 or 13. It's a boy band.
Oh, okay.
You know, pop music. He's all the rage, Harry Styles. But I was really enjoying the concert, even all the screaming and the standing and everything. The boa, the feathers that were going everywhere.
What's the deal with the boas? Does he wear them?
I guess he does. He wears them, but his fans, when they go to concerts, they dress up. I look like an absolute lunatic. Last night, Kendall, I had this like 2-piece outfit on with my hair and pigtails. You know, my hair's really long, so yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of that girl that I look like. It was like the Joker's
Hippie
girlfriend.
Longstocking?
No, the Joker's girlfriend. She's like a serial killer. I can't remember what her name is. But yeah, I was really enjoying it, just enjoying his music. And then he comes out with like a Faco sticker on his guitar.
A Beto sticker?
Yeah, and it's like, just entertain me.
I know.
Just entertain. And then, like, literally, I just was irritated because, granted, I'm obviously not voting for that idiot. No, see, I didn't say idiot.
Yeah,
I said
you said it.
Idiot. I'm not voting for that idiot. But, and I have my reasons why and whatever. But if I paid, you ready for this? I paid $800 for those tickets. Are you kidding me? $800 for someone to entertain me, not for someone to preach to me.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's where I was pissed off. And so Kendall saw my face and she goes, Mom, don't let it ruin your night. You know he's not even from Texas. He's not even American. And then as we were walking out, she goes, how'd you like the concert? And I said, I really liked it until, and she goes, wait, until the sticker came out. And I said, yeah, I know. And she said, somebody, this is my 22-year-old daughter. Somebody's probably paying him to put that on his guitar.
Sure, actually.
And I said, yeah, you're right.
In itself.
But my daughter, she's very forward-minded for her age. I think she's engaged in conversations.
She's very savvy about the world.
I don't think that a lot of people her age are. I think they drink the Kool-Aid. And
do you think there were kids in that audience that saw? Did he say something on stage, or did he just didn't. Brandish the?
Oh no, he
sticker?
didn't. But he was he would strategically, or the cameraman would strategically zero in on it. And actually, it was a news article today on one of the major networks. And my husband sent it to me. He's like, "Really? You went and listened to this trash?" And I was like, you know what? I still like him. I like his music and everything. And the more I realize, the more the veil's being lifted that Hollywood musicians, even though I was, I skirted in the music business, the music industry, everybody's being paid by somebody. And it's really hard to find an artist that is true, that is free thinking, that is not being told by a record label or an agent or a studio being told what to think. You can usually tell
the ones that are free thinking. They're not having somebody else tell them what to say.
Yeah, they're on the fringe.
And usually they're not liked very well by the media.
Yeah, so I just, as much as I spent, as much money as I spent,
it's ridiculous when you get down to it that you went to be entertained. You wanted to have 2 hours to enjoy yourself. Mm-hmm. And the way the country is, I wouldn't say half the people, but maybe 40% of the people in the audience, when they saw him do that, went, "Oh man!"
The people behind me did too. They were just like, "Ugh!" And then, they also had
give me the show that I paid $800 for. That's all I want. It's the same at basketball games. It's the same at NFL games. It's the same at baseball games. Please just stop preaching to me and entertain me. That's what all of these things are. They're entertainment.
Well, they had T-shirts on every single chair that said something about gun violence. And it was a QR code, and it went to the particular party. And actually what I did is I used it because the floor was sticky. And so I put it on the floor. So,
I love it.
Hey, it was cool. One of the other things I wanted to tell you is, or ask you, have you noticed, I know you're not as big of a foodie as I am, and I like to go try new restaurants and stuff. When did Austin become so snobby, restaurants? Like, when did that happen? It's like, I went to a really good oyster bar place. It's on 6th Street. We've enjoyed it in the past. And it's a Monday night. There's tables everywhere. And they walk up and they're like, "Do you have a reservation?" Oh, God. I'm like, "No, I don't have a reservation." Now, granted, I look like an lunatic. Like I said, I had pigtails and everything else, but I just don't understand. Like, when did we become so snobby?
That's the image. It's social media. It's all about the image. There's the substance isn't there anymore. It's about them being able to say, oh, you can't go in there without a reservation. It doesn't even matter if they have 10 empty tables.
Yeah. It was kind of,
I have thought a little bit about what's going on in the city of Austin. Obviously it's very progressive and they have different priorities, I think, than you and I would have, but what would you say is one of the jewels of downtown Austin as far as like landmarks?
Oh, for sure. Well, I'm old school, so I'm going to say Town Lake, but I think the people that are moving here, they now say, is it Lady Bird
It's
Lake?
Lady Bird
But
Lake.
I say it's Town Lake.
What everybody that's been here for a while still calls it Town Lake. There's an article in it was the Statesman about the Town Lake Trail, the maintenance on the trail. Now I run down there a couple times a week, and the water fountains don't work, and there's places that need a lot of maintenance that are not getting maintenance. And I was reading through the city budget for the city of Austin. You know how much money the city of Austin designates to take care of that jewel of Austin, which people come from all around the country to visit the Town Lake Trail.
Well, I know how much you and the running club spent just trying to re-caliche or whatever it was, or granite, crushed granite.
$10,000 to finish 100 yards of trail.
Where was that?
At the soccer park.
At the soccer park. So I can't even, it must be astronomical, right?
Just guess a number.
I would think, okay, so I would say it's probably a couple of $1 million.
It's $1 million a year that they dedicate to that. And it's not near enough. The trail it needs some maintenance. They used to have all these nice water fountains. They all worked. They gave cool water. Now, I would say I can think of 2 that work out of about 15, and they're all down for maintenance.
Well, because they're probably used as toilets or bidets.
I know.
Okay. So the fact that I would even ever drink out of one of those hepatitis fountains.
I drink out of them.
No, it's just think how many people use it as a bidet.
I know.
It's
okay. I used to drink out of those fountains, but the point I was making, so that the city of Austin just did entered into an agreement with the Trail Foundation, which is a private group, and the Trail Foundation is going to take over maintenance for the Town Lake Trail, and their budget is $6 million a year.
Where are they getting their money from?
It's all private donations.
Oh wow! So I'm wondering now, what does that mean? Like as you're walking or running around the trail, are you going to see advertisements for?
There's already some signs down
this.
there.
This section of trail was maintained by Indeed.com.
I'm actually okay with that because I'll probably donate to it. I love that trail. But the point is, where are the city's priorities? The city of Austin's budget is $4.5 billion, and they only allocate $1 million to trail maintenance for something that they should spend. It should be $10 million a year.
Well, obviously it isn't helping out the homeless population because, Chicago pays Austin to take some of their homeless. Yeah. They ship them over here, and I guess then the governor ships them back to New Hampshire or somebody. But
buses going back and forth. Well, I read through some of the budget. The city of Austin, even though they don't have any money to take care of the trail, which is enjoyed by almost everybody in Austin, they do have $1.18 million to do universal basic income program, where they just take money from some taxpayers and give it to other people that don't pay taxes. They have $62 million for the homeless program, which is up $17 million from last year. And obviously that is making no difference at all. It's like a giant slush fund. $2.5 million to reduce wildfire risks, $4.9 million for the Office of Civil Rights and Equity. Well, what a waste of freaking money. $1.9 million for the Office of Sustainability and $1 million for electric car chargers.
I have heard more often than not, the newer people that have moved here and asking where all the public spaces. And because California
it's
per
brought
se.
up a lot of Texas and Austin have much less public space than just about any place I've ever lived.
Walking trails. And if that's what you're wanting, you're wanting people to get out, be healthy. Like our guest last week, Megan Tynes, get out, walk around, get healthy, fresh air, get off your electronics. But yet they're not providing the resources to maintain
it's because
those spaces.
They're taking this $62 million to battle home. We all know what the answer to homelessness is. We don't need to go down that rabbit trail, but it's not to keep throwing money at it. No. Obviously, every progressive city has these huge homelessness budgets, and it's not making an impact at all. It's not doing anything. So it's just, I love Austin. I love Texas, but the priorities need to be in a different direction than they are right now.
Honestly, I don't really know enough about, the benefits of the $62 million and where that's being spent. But I do know that there are certain areas, especially like trying to walk to my car last night that I paid $30 to park, that there's a real problem. And there's some scary places.
It's true.
Right out in the open of Austin. We are at the University of Texas campus. Like, where the heck are these people? Like, I just don't understand.
Well, and I got conflicting numbers. Part of it was this budget thing was that they were increasing the budget to hire more police officers. But then I also read in a different article that the budget for police officers is way down, and there's like one police officer now for 30,000 residents or some ridiculous thing in Austin. Well, we don't have near enough police officers. That's
where, I saw some of the debate, the governor's debate, gubernatorial debate.
Blah, blah, blah.
And one of the things that really irritated me was Beto flip-flopping. His opinion changes on which audience he's in front of. And in this debate, he would never answer a direct question. He would always redirect it back to something Abbott did or didn't do or something like that. And so for a year or 2 years, he was all on board, this defund the police. Well, now he's here running for governor. And he's like, oh, no.
I never said that. I never said I was going to take away your AR-15.
It's such BS. Yeah, you did in the presidential election. Sorry, you did.
Whenever you hear a politician start out their response to a question with, as I've said numerous times before, that means they're about to give you their spiel, which has nothing to do with answering the question. But wow. Okay. There's a lot of stuff there. We got a guest coming on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess we do. People just don't want to hear us talk.
Hunter Connor, who owns the Terrace Club.
Yes, she's one of the owners. Have you been to many weddings at the Terrace Club?
I've never been to a wedding at the Terrace Club. I've been to numerous events there. I've been to chamber things. I've been to a couple of parties there, but I've never been to a wedding. They do a good job there. She's been there since 2000. And it was the first wedding venue in Texas, in Dripping Springs.
Oh, wow.
I know. Which now we have, 173,000 of them or something? Yeah. So we're going to take a little break and get Hunter in here. So sit tight. We'll be right back.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallett Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at mallettintegrityteam.com. And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome back to the show.
Hunter Connor is joining us now, owner of Terrace Club. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. When did you move to Dripping Springs?
We moved here in 2011, but I commuted basically from Oak Hill for 11 years.
Oh.
I just would drive out here every day for work. And then I said I would never move to Dripping Springs until there was a HEB and a Home Depot. And as soon as those went in.
Did you really?
100%.
You were like part of the planning at that point.
Yeah, I guess.
They built it just for you.
Well, that sad little Super S that we had for so long, I just couldn't do it.
We love to talk about Super Sucks. That's all the expired foods.
Yes, it was so sad.
The green meat.
Yes. Yeah, so as soon as that HEB was in the works, I was in.
Yeah. So what year was that?
Well, we moved in 2011, so it had to have been a little before
The Home Depot came first, remember? That's what came first.
Right.
So we were all excited about that.
Well, this town changed completely when both of those came. Because you used to have to drive into Austin for everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime we ran out of something at the Terrace Club, we would have to drive. We would have to go to Super S, and it was hard.
Oh, yeah.
It was tough. So we would just drive back into Oak Hill.
Yeah, that's right.
At the Ghetto B.
Yes, that Albertsons we had. There
Yes,
for a
the
while.
Albertsons too. Yeah,
Was it Albertsons?
It was right there on the
Goodwill was right.
Yes, the other side.
Or is now. Yeah. People won't know about the Ghetto B here in HEB in a few years because they missed all that.
I know.
Now they got that real nice one at the corner of 1826. So you didn't grow up in Austin though.
No. So I grew up in East Texas, Wills Point, Texas. It's like right in between Dallas and Tyler. And as soon as I graduated, my parents were like, we're moving. And they left and went to Lindale, Texas. And I went to school in San Marcos, graduated from Texas State, moved to Austin. And I've been there since, and that was like in 2000.
Okay.
Wills Point, is that by Van, Texas?
Yeah. Yes.
That's where my family's from.
Oh, yeah.
And Grand Saline, Van.
100%. So Grand Saline and Van, we were all in the same school district, so we played them for every sport.
There are like 12 kids in the whole school district.
There was 130 in my graduating class.
Oh my gosh. How many kids are graduating at Dripping?
Oh gosh, I think they're upwards of 700.
Oh my gosh.
700. I mean, that's why the bond is being put forth for another high school.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm. What I wanted to know is how different is this part of Texas from East Texas? How do you feel like raising your kids here, growing up in East Texas and then coming here into Central Texas and just being totally blown away? And you have a house in Rockport also.
Yes. So when Wills Point, small town, USA, I loved Dripping Springs for that because when we moved here, it was a small town.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I went to Founders Day, the parade, and I felt like this is small town America. I love it. This is where I want my kids to grow up. This is where I want to live and want to, have a business here. And the terrain is very different. Of course, East Texas is where I grew up, it's very flat farmland. It's not as pretty as like Tyler and that where it's rolling hills and pine trees and stuff. So it's very different here. The terrain, smaller tree. I don't know. It just looked very different, but I loved it. I didn't want to move back.
Do you feel like it's not a small town anymore?
It's definitely not heading that direction. I mean, it's definitely grown a lot since we've been here.
I feel like we all need to go move to LA for 6 months and then come back.
No, just drive into downtown Austin, and then you're like, oh.
I mean, we have issues here, but it's still a small town.
It is.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere without seeing. Used to see a lot more people at HEB that I knew now, but part of that might be because I'm older and I don't hang out with my kids, band and.
But that's so funny because what we've talked about over and over on this show is that our metric for how small Dripping is the number of people or who we see at HEB.
It's true. We say that all the time.
It's not the fact that we don't have high rises or we don't have we don't even have public transportation. Uber won't even hardly come out here for goodness sake. But God forbid, I don't know that person in the produce aisle.
That's right. Yeah. I still feel like it's a small town. We went to the Founders Day parade last year, and
I forced him.
And I had a great time, but it blew my mind how big that is. There's people on that stretch of Mercer by the feed store.
We were right there by the filling station.
12 people deep there. Yep. Just so many people. It was fun, but it's definitely changing here.
Yeah.
And so we know you own the business at the Terrace Club, but what did you do before that?
So when I moved to Austin, I started working for my sister and her husband, Amy and Donnie Garcia. They started a picnic ranch in Blanco called Fiesta Ranch, and we did corporate picnics, which nobody does anymore. But it was like during the .com, all these new businesses were spending lots of money on their company retreats and picnics for people to do like team building. And so we did catering. There was a natural spring-fed swimming hole. There was like all these pavilions, and we brought in bands and like carnivals. And I mean, it was out in the middle of nowhere, but it was really cool. So they also owned a DJ company. So they they kind of did the best of both. Like they DJ'd, they knew all the wedding venues, hotels and stuff. But then they also had the party planning side of it. So it was kind of the Terrace Club was kind of a birth of the two, right?
Did they build that building, the Terrace Club building, or was it already existing?
It was not built yet when they came in. Like we looked at, you know, where the tree house was down on Barton Springs years ago. That was a venue that we looked at one time. There was another place off of Congress, off of Annie and Congress, that they almost came in and put a venue there, but they decided on Dripping Springs.
And they kind of put the wedding industry, Dripping Springs, on the map for that because they were the first
wedding venue in Dripping Springs, right?
Right. So they lived in Saddle Tree years ago. Then they moved to Circle C. But they always loved Dripping Springs, and it was like untapped territory, right?
100%.
All the venues were kind of moving north. There were no wedding venues in Dripping Springs or this area. And when they found this location, it wasn't finished yet. It was just a like metal structure, right? It was the beams, I guess. So they were able to go in and kind of make it the way that they wanted it, with the big open ballroom at top, the first floor or the second floor, and the balcony and the views and all that stuff. So it was kind of they morphed it into what they wanted it to be.
Do you have any idea what they paid to build that back then?
I'd be guessing, but I'm thinking $800,000, maybe $900,000.
Yeah, probably cost you $5 to $6 million now.
That's
to develop that.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know, when we were at Founders, and I had that girl Morgan from Louisiana, and she was a wedding planner.
She's my intern.
Yeah,
was
I mean, she was my intern.
Yeah.
She works for me full time.
Yes,
that's funny. Small world, huh?
Yeah. How did you meet her? How did you see
She's friends with another friend of mine, Jordan. Well, the Headleys.
See?
The Headleys.
Small town. It's
the
a small
Headleys
town.
are good friends of ours. So Derek and Jordan. Yeah, Jordan was in my daughter's wedding, and so the Headleys are really good friends of ours.
Oh, but there's those two kids. They've both worked for me for a long time, and like Derek's helping us out this weekend. I mean,
Derek's a teacher now, so he comes in and he helps out at the Terrace Club.
It's such a small world. Yeah, Jordan and Morgan like hit it off at church, I think.
Yes.
And they've
I love Morgan.
buddies.
She's so funny, and just like, you know, trying to get to coming from Louisiana, her little coon ass, and then coming here to, you know, Central Texas and trying to figure out how people are doing things. It's really funny to watch how she's doing.
Yeah.
How did you know way back that the wedding venue business was going to be so big?
We didn't. I mean, I didn't. My sister and her husband, I guess, knew it would be, or just hoped it would be, right? Because there was a niche for it.
Yeah. Well, it was just starting though, right? Because
right.
I mean,
Weddings weren't back then what they are today.
Married in churches and parks and things like that.
And then you'd have
country
reception.
clubs.
Yeah, country clubs. You have your reception at Fellowship Hall or mom and dad's house or whatever. And now just this all-inclusive wedding venue type. And that's kind of what Terrace Club provided, right? It was just like they would provide the DJ and the food, and y'all have kind of changed up you're allowing outside vendors in now. Is that right? So that was kind of our niche, I guess, when we first started, is it morphed into more than just the venue, but it has definitely come a long way. Like when we first started, it was white linens, white chairs, a fishbowl with some floating candle or like a hurricane lantern. And that's what every wedding did. Like, it was like, oh, what are your colors? Red? Okay, we'll add some red rocks inside your centerpiece. And then, I mean, back then we used to do a morning wedding and then an afternoon wedding. And then we would flip it in between. And we did all the catering ourselves. I mean, we were figuring it out, scrambling a little bit to make it happen. But
is there a full kitchen there at the Terrace?
No.
So you would, when you were saying you're catering, you were bringing the food in from someplace else.
Yes. So when we first started, we used a company called Creative Creations Catering out of Austin. And then when I bought it in 2006, we switched to Gourmet Gals, which is local, Dripping Springs, Sherry and Simbri, and I've never looked back. They've been amazing. But yeah, it's just kind of morphed into the wedding craziness that it is now.
I did 3 weddings in 18 months for my children.
Oh, wow.
So my daughter just got married in August. And so I learned a lot. The first one was in COVID, or like smack dab in the middle of COVID. And then the middle one, we were lax. And then this last August, it was just,
great.
it was amazing.
Free for all.
But I learned so much just during that process of planning in doing my children's weddings that I can't imagine doing it full time, like the stress. Of course, being the mother of the fill in the blank, whatever it is, there's a lot more stress on you. But that's a lot of work.
It is. It is. I mean, it's just second nature. It's all I've ever done. Right. So it's just, I could pretty much do it in my sleep.
When you were talking about the decorations, it's like the decorations alone, I think, if we had paid full price for our flowers, Kendall's flowers would have been $18,000. And everything about the wedding was flowers and flowers and flowers. Yeah. So, boy, it would have been nice to have a bowl and a candle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those days are long gone.
Yeah, not in the days of Pinterest and Instagram. Everybody's trying to have the most spectacular wedding ever. You said it's all you've ever known. What made you want to get into this business in the first place?
Well, I think I was at that age too, where like all my friends were getting engaged and I could relate to the brides. And I think that's what made me so successful early on, is because I was relatable to the girls, to the brides and the couples that were coming in. We were about the same age and it just kind of clicked.
Do you feel like you just sort of happened into that job and then you really enjoyed it and just took off from there?
Yes, I kind of fell into it. I got lucky. It just was a good fit. It just
It's
clicked.
funny how life goes that way sometimes. Where you're not planning for something and all of a sudden you're just barreling down a road towards some destination.
Yeah. I mean, I did not go to school to be a wedding planner or an event planner. I have an education degree to be a teacher.
How many weddings do you do per year?
So I just recently looked at all this. So we used to do from like 2016. I went back to 2016 through 2020. We had about 100. It averaged about 100 weddings a year. And then with COVID, we had like 80 that postponed or canceled.
Oh, wow. Goodness.
That was one of the things I wanted to ask you about is how COVID affected your business.
It was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it was harder for me because I was the one that was doing the sales, doing the bookings. And so like when a couple would call and say, I can't have my wedding, I'm worried about my grandmother that you met, it was hard for me not to
get emotional about it. Yeah.
And not feel their pain and feel their, what they were going through. So it was hard because we basically allowed everybody to push to the next year.
And so everybody down the line, then the caterers, the people that help you with all that, they all didn't get paid during that time. That was a huge impact. And as a business owner myself, that's a heavy burden, isn't it?
It is.
When you're not producing the income to pay the people down the line that all depend on you for a living, it's a very it's a heavy burden to carry.
Right. I had 3 full-time employees at the time, and then we had 15 part-time employees that relied on that.
Plus all the businesses, like you were saying, the catering business, and I'm sure you have flowers and, and all the other decorations and all those people, they all suffered through that too. It's exponential.
We had a couple of our preferred vendors that went out of business.
Bellied up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it's back to pre-pandemic numbers, or do you think it's up higher? Or
as far as like the number of guests?
Number of guests and or just weddings. Yeah.
It's getting there. It's getting there. I mean, we're booked fall, we're booked in the high peak months, but it's still, it's always, I could always be booked more.
I didn't think there were peak months anymore. What are the peak months?
For us, it's September through December and then like March through June. So really
is that because of the heat?
The weather.
People don't want to get married in July or
August, Kendall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that weddings are getting bigger and bigger and more over the top and less about the whole reason why people are going and having the wedding? It's like,
oh yeah, for sure.
I was really trying to at some point reel my kids in. I'm like, you know what? It's not the day of the wedding. It's the next day. That's the most important day. And tried to really kind of hone that down, and $18,000 on flowers
There's
later.
so much pressure on kids now, though, to have the spectacular wedding.
Right.
Girls mostly, but they are brought up from a young age to expect that their wedding is going to be the biggest day of their life, the most dramatic thing in their life. That's a lot of pressure.
Just even like the guest count, though, too. Of course, my oldest, it was during COVID, so our numbers were very limited, and we were also limited right around that time by the venue because they were still having venue numbers.
Yep.
A week before the wedding, they raised that restriction.
Oh, nice.
And I was having people that had RSVP'd changing their RSVPs, and I'm running to the caterers and saying, I need more food because more people are showing up. It was crazy, and it just...
And nobody knew.
Nobody knew it.
Nobody did. It's probably the mark of a perfect wedding planner. Hunter, what do you love about being in the wedding planning business?
I think it's seeing something from the beginning to the end. It's the process of, creating relationships, there's brides and couples that I'm still friends with that I've did their wedding 10, 15 years ago. Wow. I have people that come by all the time. They're like, hey, I got married here 12 years ago. Can we just see the place and stop by and, take pictures with our kids? And so I think it's the process. It's the showing them around, going through, because most of them have never done this before, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just creating a good experience for them and then seeing it through the finished product.
Do you have one in your mind that sticks out of all the weddings that you've done over the last 20 something years that just kind of like, that's the one you remember the most? Good, bad, ugly.
Yeah.
I try to block out anything bad, but I'm just kidding. Yeah. All the good ones, there's so many. It's hard to say just one, but there's certain couples that I clicked with more, I guess, or bonded with more and still have a great relationship with. And, their weddings were just different, right? So they were doing things that were kind of outside of the normal scope that we're used to. So those kind of still stick out in my mind. There's a few that that were didn't go the way exactly we wanted them or they wanted them, but it's in the grand scheme, there are very few of them.
I went to a
over
wedding
20 years
one time, and one of the guests had a heart attack in the middle of the reception.
Have you had something like that? A medical?
Yeah. We've had people, have a heart attack. We've had people not anything recently, but it's been years ago. 22 years. We've had everything that could possibly have ever happened has happened. But people slip and fall, tear their ACLs. They have to go.
Gosh. In the middle of my wedding, I stood up there and I touched my coat and I went, damn it, I don't have the rings.
Oh my God.
So I said to the pastor, David Skinner, that was married, I said, I don't have the rings. And he said, we're going to take a little break. And then one of my good friends came up and ran to my car and got it. But there's always something that happens. I think that's what makes it memorable.
That's hilarious.
So we know what you love about it. What do you hate about doing what you do? What's the worst part of doing what you do?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress on
the stress I could see
on me. They say that wedding planners have one of the most stressful jobs there are. There is, like police officers and doctors and lawyers, and maybe not lawyers, but wedding planners. I don't know. It was my husband. I don't know if you saw, he's a police officer.
Yeah, I wanted
he's
to
commander.
ask you about that. Yeah.
I always joke that he deals with people on the worst day of their life and I deal with people on the best day of their life. But that's not always true. But it's hard to say. It's stressful. It's
Well, everybody looks to you to make the day perfect.
Well, you have to pivot.
If it doesn't go well, it falls on you.
Different personalities, like every bride is different. And then, you have the dreaded mother-in-law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm the bottom line, right? So if something doesn't go the way that they wanted it to, or they're upset about something, it's, they want to talk to me, right? So it's one of those things I've had to just learn to
get a thick skin.
Yeah. And I try to make everybody happy, of course, but you can't take it personally, of course, so
have you had some people that you've tried to make them happy, but you just can't? That's sort of human nature, I think. If you deal with enough people, you're going to run into somebody like that.
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened. And, sometimes they just want to hear that you're sorry and you're going to make it right.
Yeah.
Well, you also just don't know the dynamics that are going on kind of behind the scenes, especially if...
So many variables.
Yeah, if it's mom and dad haven't been married and now this is the first time they've been in a room and, dad brings a girlfriend and maybe somebody slaps somebody. Oh, that was Kendall's wedding. I don't remember.
There you go. That was a memory, Michelle. You didn't just make that up. That was a memory.
Yeah, I didn't find out about that until later.
Yeah.
It wasn't my side of the family.
Oh my gosh.
Hunter, what do you see in these average weddings costing now?
Let's see. Well, so the average cost of a wedding in Austin used to be, before COVID, it was like 27,000. That was like the average that people are spending. I bet it's at least 10,000 more.
I spent about 40.
Everything.
I spent about 45.
That's such a huge amount of
on
money.
Kindles.
Everything has gone up. Like the food cost, number one, because we offer the all-inclusive. And so we're providing catering, and what used to cost for, beef that used to be $5 a person is now $10 to $12 a person. And so that's a big part of it. Staff has been really tough over the last couple of years, just getting people to work for $15, $20 an hour. So that's been one thing. So we've had to increase the cost of staff, increase the cost of, just everything, labor, food. So I think that's the main reason why the average cost has gone up so much.
It's crazy to me. That's a down payment on a decent sized house now, and it's blowing it all on a 1 day party.
I know.
Kendall did say that this was like about a month before the wedding. Now, granted, her wedding turned out beautiful, and I wouldn't take anything back, but about a month before, when we were like down and dirty, right at the last hall, she goes, I should have taken your offer of the cash and eloped.
Yeah.
But so I know, I read from your little bio that for fun, you like to go to Rockport and fish, and you are a fishing woman, and you participate in tournaments. And
oh, yeah. I probably don't look like a fishing woman with my eyelashes and my long fingernails.
No, you don't.
So my name is Hunter, obviously. So I grew up fishing, hunting my whole life. And my parents for years ago had a house in Rockport, and we used to go down there all the time. They ended up selling it during the recession, like in 2009. And then my sister moved down there, and they had a house in City by the Sea back in the early 2000s.
I remember City by the Sea.
Well, that's where our house is now.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. So long story short, we started fishing in this bay fishing tournament. It's an all-women's tournament called Babes on the Bay. It's like the largest all-women's fishing tournament, but we've done it for like 15 years. And we're actually going down there this weekend to fish. But it's a lot of fun. I love to fish.
I just, fishing was in the news most recently. I think it was Lake Erie. They had the cheaters that were
I watched
the
that
walleye.
video.
Yeah, where they
Yes.
were stuffing the fish. Did you see this?
No.
They won this this fishing tournament, and it was walleye. Is that what it was? The fish? I guess I'm saying it right. And they stuffed it with lead balls.
Weights.
Lead
They
weights.
were stuffing them
way.
with weights. These guys were winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they
Cheaters.
So they're
Jeez.
not only is it cheaters, it's illegal.
Yeah.
They
I
have
believe
legal
it, yeah.
ramifications.
Wow.
It's like, well, not to say that it happens in Rockport,
Yeah.
but it's like, well, that's kind of interesting. My husband loves to go down there to Lighthouse Lakes and goes
Yeah.
kayak fishing. And as a matter of fact, he's going down there this weekend as well.
yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
Not me.
Hunter, you mentioned your husband, Pat, as a commander for the Austin Police Department. What's it like being the wife of a police officer these days?
It's tough.
I bet it is.
It's tough. I mean, he's been a police officer for 22 years. So when we first met, he was in the academy, and he loved it. He was eating up with it. And, he's promoted over the years. He's a commander now. And, it's just hard. People don't view police officers like they used to.
I know.
It's sad.
How is he going to stay there till he retires, you think?
Yes, he will. I was like, you can't leave until you can get that retirement. So he's going to be there for a while. A couple years probably.
Yeah, the pressure on police officers now, because they're cutting budgets and they're not hiring new officers, and there's not even as many people wanting to go into the academy, I guess, as there used to be. So, because it's a thankless job.
Same with military. Yeah, they're having a really hard.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I feel for people that are police officers now, and he's a commander, so he's looking over or managing probably, I don't know how many people, but all those guys are feeling the stress of it too.
Oh yeah. It's tough.
Yeah. Do you know what the morale's like in the APD right now overall? Are those guys feeling pretty beat down?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
How do you not when constantly they're having rallies to defund your job, and at the same time talking about how unsafe they feel, and it's like you can't have two sides of the same coin. You know, it's like, come on, let's, there's no common sense anymore. No common sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder you went to South Africa for a couple of weeks just to kind of get away
how
from
was
it
that?
all.
Oh, it was amazing. Like we went with another couple that goes like twice a year. And it was in the middle of COVID. We were at their house they have a house or a ranch off of, Mount Gainer. Is it Mount Gainer? Gatlin Creek Road. Sorry.
Okay.
And they were like, in a year, let's go to Africa. And we're like, okay. So we just, I'm sure we had some cocktails and, she basically booked all of it and said, this is where we're going. This is when you need to book it. And we just were like, okay, it's a year from now. We'll worry about it when the time comes. We didn't know what was COVID and what was going to happen with that, but we went for 16 days.
Did you have to get any special type of shots or anything like that to go there?
I probably should have.
Yeah.
But we did not. And
like malaria shots and things like that.
Like yellow fever, typhoid. We didn't do any of it. Like we were in a very civilized area. Like we were never like on the outside. We were always in the park. We went to Kruger Park and stayed within the park, which is very safe. And basically like every night we went to like a different resort I say resort. These are not resorts.
Yeah.
They're glamping basically. But it was an amazing experience.
Did you see all different kinds of animals?
We saw everything.
Really?
And most of them we saw in our car driving around.
Wow.
And there were multiple, like we went out on, they called them sundowners, and you get in the back of the big vans or the Jeeps with the tops off, and you go for a sundowner, which is, a cocktail, and watch the sunset. Yeah. And the animals are not afraid of those cars. They just will walk straight up to them.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So
desensitized.
Yeah. And we went on a couple walks.
Desensitized.
Yeah.
You guys went for walks?
Yeah. We had rangers that we would walk with us with their guns, and but the animals could smell us and hear us from like miles away. So they were always way, way, way far away when we were on foot. So we never saw anything. Hope. Yeah. Well, knock on wood. At least we don't think they were nearby.
Yeah.
Right.
I follow a couple sites on Instagram where they show close up encounters with wild animals,
and they come up right to the
Africa.
van.
Yeah, like there's this guy's sitting in the front of the Jeep, like a chair that's off the front of the Jeep, and he's sitting there and he's looking off to his left, and he's just kind of looking off at a tree or something, and then he looks in front of him, and there's a female lion like 3 feet in front of him, just sitting there looking at him. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. What there's nothing you're going to do. You're just going to hope that lion just keeps walking on the way.
Yeah,
he's not hungry.
Yeah, that stuff's scary.
Hope you don't smell good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you didn't hunt over there? You're probably not allowed to hunt. Yeah.
Not in the park. It's very, very strict about that. All that.
A lot of people
poaching.
go over there to hunt their trophy animals that they've dreamed about their whole lives. Probably not in that park, but in some parts of Africa.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think's next for you, Hunter? Do you think you're just going to keep doing this for a while?
It's looking that way.
Yeah.
I may be here forever. We're kind of, during COVID, we kind of changed our format a little bit with weddings, and kind of to give me and some of my girls a little bit of a break. Cause we were in a rat race. It was every weekend, multiple weddings per weekend. I never got to see my kids play soccer, lacrosse. I never, got to go to the birthday parties. My husband always had to do that. So it kind of gave us a time to like figure everything out where we weren't working every single weekend. So we're now offering, we used to do just only all inclusive. So it was always us. Now we have rental only options as well. So people, which is what a lot of places do. So it's given us a chance to have a Saturday off or a Friday, have a weekend off.
Rent them the venue and they do whatever they want. You just have like one staff there just to make sure they don't burn the place down.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's been good, because it's actually, made me think I could do this for another 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. Because before it was like, I don't know how much longer I can do this, because I was, missing out on everything. I think everyone during COVID kind of reevaluated their lives, and so I was definitely one of them.
Do you think you'll end up down in Rockport where your sister is?
Yes. Yeah, I think so eventually. I hope so. Yeah, we've tossed around the idea, like when my husband retires, maybe we could move down there. It'll depend. Like now we have a 8th grader that plays football. And so he's like gung ho about playing football in high school here. And then, so we have a 10-year-old that's in 5th grade at Walnut. And so we're just probably when they're out of school, I guess it'll depend where they decide to go for college, and then we'll figure it out.
You get a lot more options once they all go off to college. Things open up for you.
Yeah.
You have a lot more things you can do.
I know you have a short-term rental down there in Rockport. Steve is doing some short-term rentals.
And we're going to do a show on that. Boy, I've learned, it's not even live yet, and I've learned a bunch. One of which is my credit card will catch on fire next time I do it again.
Yeah, our house is in City by the Sea. We bought it 6 months before the hurricane, and then it got destroyed by the hurricane. We tore it down, rebuilt the house. We have a new house in City by the Sea, which is an older neighborhood, but it's in the short-term rental fleet. So we haven't been down there in 3.5 months. We're going this weekend.
Do you have somebody manage it for you?
Yeah, we had Turnkey when we first started, and then they sold to Vacasa. And so now Vacasa runs it for us or manages it for us. But it's so nice. You don't have to worry about it. They just kind of take care of it.
Yeah. I'm going to manage mine myself for a little bit and then probably turn it over to somebody. I want to just get it sort of running and understand the process, and then I'll let somebody else do it.
Yeah. I think if you have time to do it yourself, do it. It's just, I don't have time to do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not cleaning it and doing all that. I'm just going to like arrange things and walk through and make sure it's done the right way. Michelle and I are trying to get as many 5-star ratings as we can.
Yeah, that's our goal right now.
Yeah.
I've been on this short-term rental or Airbnb kind of Facebook group. Ooh, boy, the horror stories. But I think it's not necessarily because it's all over the world. People that are a part of this group, and it's just like some of the stories, and then some of the hosts. It's like you're in the hospitality business, right? And I think kind of just being in real estate, all three of us, we kind of understand that, you're very client centric, and some of these people are like, oh, I guess I'll just have a short-term rental for fun. And they don't really understand the concept of you are in the hospitality business. Right. So
it's like a wedding venue.
Yeah,
right.
It is.
So you're renting your venue. It's not, it is your house, but it's a business.
Yeah,
that's right. And it's got to be right. Otherwise they'll just pillory you.
Oh yeah.
Did I use the right word? Pillar.
Whatever. It's funny that, not to go back to weddings, but like the reviews on your rental house, reviews on your venue, like that's
on your real estate business.
Yeah. It's when we first started, of course, nobody did online stuff really. It was 2008, the Knot came out, and then they came out with an award for the best of the Knot. So you had to have a certain amount of 5-star reviews to get this award. And that's been, we've gotten it every year since then, but it's just, that's kind of like the standard.
You're chasing the reviews.
You're chasing the reviews. You're chasing that award. So it's so important. Like after every wedding, we ask all of our couples to write a review about us. And I'm sure they do that with short-term rentals, but
Well, it's funny though. It's because like you can be in a situation, real estate, short-term rental, wedding, and you think you've solved that problem with the client, right? And you've worked it out. And then next thing you know, they go and write this review and you're like, whoa, wait. Yeah. I think I solved it. And then like you have to rebuttal yourself in some small little paragraph.
There's some people out there, no matter how good a job you do for them, they're not going to give you a good review.
Yeah.
It's just, no matter how hard you try.
Right. 100%.
So that's the world we live in.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to give a little shout out to Leslie at Two Wild Sisters for connecting us and suggesting you to come on the podcast. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Hunter. We really appreciate it and wish you the best of luck at the Terrace Club.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallett Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at mallettintegrityteam.com.
Thanks for listening.
If you have comments or feedback, please email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Mallett and Michelle.
Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.
Please follow us and leave a review.
Thanks again for listening.